Está con nosotros el embajador de India en España, Dinesh Kumar Patnaik. Bienvenido, buenos días.
Thank you very much.
Dinesh nos va a contestar en inglés, aunque vamos a hacerle gran parte de las preguntas en español porque lo entiende, pero entiendan que en inglés va a expresarse mejor. ¿Cuáles son los objetivos fundamentales de esta cumbre de los BRICS en Kazán? Y sobre todo, ¿es la más importante de la última década?
Well, the BRICS conference in Kazan is essentially to bring in the new members of BRICS and to continue the discussion which has been happening. The discussion is on reformed multilateralism because there is a feeling in the world that multilateralism hasn't worked and that we need to have a separate financial structure because the financial system also has not worked. The whole idea of how BRICS started, and BRICS, you know, was Jim O'Neill in 1997, even before that, who talked about the emerging markets, the 4 new countries, and BRICS started from there. But BRICS today has become a voice of the global south because there is a feeling that in the world, there is no equity. The structure of the world, the way it is done, there is a more control of the Western countries, of the more developing countries, of developed countries, while the developing countries have to fight to get the position. And so in this inequitable world, we wanted a structure which can bring together everybody to be able to discuss issues which plague the global south, to be able to put together everything, and to have an organization which can work for the global south. And this is what the BRICS is. And in Kazan, what we are seeing is an addition of 5 new members. We were the 5 founding members, actually 4 if you look at it: Brazil, Russia, India, and China. South Africa came in the next year, 1 year later. So these are the 5 members, and now we are getting 5 new members, which is Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. So this is totally. Argentina was supposed to join, but after the election of Milei, Argentina has not joined. But we have more than 40 countries who have applied to join the BRICS.
En el plano económico, BRICS es el elemento fundamental, generar una moneda para los BRICS que les permita mejorar su economía, que le permita no tener que acudir a Occidente, entiéndame, a buscar ese apoyo, por ejemplo, de préstamos, que haya todo un sistema basado en una moneda que permita a los BRICS, al Sur Global, crecer de verdad y ponerle como primera economía de bloque del mundo frente al G7, tal y como ya está en números económicos.
If you look at the global multilateral situation, it was all designed in 1940s, in 45, after the Second World War. And it was a situation where some countries had a greater control over the global monetary system, the global financial system, and the global political system. The whole idea of BRICS is to give a different system, a different alternative. We live in a democratic world. In a democratic world, we need different alternative systems. We cannot have just one system. Democracy means diversity. So we need different systems. And the BRICS bridge is supposed to bring that alternative system, which is to use local currencies, BRICS currencies, rather than the dollar, which is the dominant currency in the world, to bring in different systems of operation, to bring in people who can do different things together. And so to give an alternative to the global financial architecture, to the global economic architecture, and to the global political architecture. So that is the whole concept of what BRICS Bridge is trying to do.
Hay una parte del mercado que dice, ¿y por qué no a través del oro? ¿Por qué no una vuelta a hace 80 años? Hace 80 años fue Bretton Woods, cuando el dólar se convierte en ese anillo único, ¿no?
Exactly.
Todo alrededor del dólar. ¿Por qué no los BRICS, en lugar de ir a un modelo digital, no acuden a un entorno de anclarse contra el dólar, contra el oro otra vez y volver al periodo anterior a Bretton Woods? ¿Por qué la elección es digitalización, es CBDCs, es BRICS Bridge?
We are looking at all alternatives. The first alternative is to work with your own currencies. We have strong currencies like the yuan is a strong currency. The rupee is coming up stronger. The euro is one currency. You have the Japanese yen, which is strong. You have global currencies. The whole idea is to start dealing in different currencies. Right now, the dollar is dominant. We want other currencies to be dominant. But yes, we are looking at digital. We are looking at gold. We are looking at different options. The whole idea is to give choice, to be able to not have any dominance of one currency. Is to have a choice of different currencies.
¿Cree que es posible en el medio plazo?
No sabe. It's possible. See, the whole idea is to try to give an alternative. If the alternative works, it is good. If it doesn't work, we find some other alternative. But the whole idea is not to have dominance, but to have a democratic system where there are various alternatives available. And that is the main crux behind BRICS, is to give a choice to a world which is unidimensional. We are all democratic countries. What is the first thing you look in democracy? Democracy is about diversity. It's not about homogeneity. In democracy, you need, if it was homogeneous, China would be democratic. But if you want diversity, you want to have different options for people. Same with the global order, the international order. We cannot have a homogeneous system where some countries control everything and other countries follow the rule. We need a system which gives options to people. So if we are democratic countries, if you want democracy in the global order, we need to give options. And BRICS is an option. BRICS is not against somebody. BRICS is not BRICS versus G7 or BRICS versus G20. BRICS gives you an alternative, a world where there is an alternative system where you can work together.
En el plano económico está claro. En la parte geopolítica, la clave fundamental de esta reunión de los BRICS es elevar una petición a Naciones Unidas de que se amplíe el número de miembros permanentes del Consejo de Seguridad de Naciones Unidas para que de verdad el mundo posterior a la Guerra Mundial, con 5 miembros, dé paso a un mundo más abierto, más multilateral y donde la conversación social, la conversación en Naciones Unidas de verdad sirva, porque Naciones Unidas no está sirviendo, ni está sirviendo en la guerra de Ucrania, ni está sirviendo en Oriente Medio para lo que de verdad se creó, que es intentar intermediar y poner paz. Pero la razón fundamental de que no esté sirviendo es que el Sur Global no está representado en ese Consejo de Seguridad. ¿Va a ser la principal petición de esa cumbre de los BRICS?
One is that is clear. You see, the United Nations was set up in 1945. And in 1945, there were only 51 countries in the world, 51 países. Today, there are 196 countries in the world. So you have 140 more countries which have joined. But the structure of the UN remains the same. It's not that the UN has done nothing. Over the last 75 years, the UN has done a lot of good work, but it has not succeeded in bringing equity into the world. It has not succeeded in bringing a more balanced. So today we are looking at a rebalancing. If you remember in the 50s and 60s, the anti-colonial movement, when a lot of colonies became independent from UK, from France, from Spain, from other countries, the anti-colonial movement actually looked at a situation when the Bandung Conference happened, when the NAM was formed, the non-aligned movement, when the G77 was formed. That was a time when countries thought that the global order, even though colonialism has gone, the global order does not allow developing countries to do better. And now is the same feeling among many people that the global international order needs a rebalancing, a reformatting. That multilateralism hasn't worked, that minilateralism is working, plurilateralism. Smaller groups are working together, but the larger group is not working. So how can we give more options to everybody? Today there is a lot of options in front of people. You want to join this group, that group. As bigger countries, we are in every group. We are in a BRICS, we are in Quad, we are in SCO, we are in every group, multilateral, plurilateral group or small multilateral groups. So for India, it's a question of seeing BRICS as a balancing force which brings a different balance to the world. So politically, I agree with you. We need a little more balance. We need the United Nations Security Council to have more representation of groups which do not have representation right now. We need a reform of the way the UN functions. But whether we can do it from inside or we need an organization from outside to do, we don't know as yet.
Porque si no, ¿ustedes creen que Naciones Unidas, tal y como está planteada en la situación actual, no tiene validez ya?
No, it is doing a lot of good work in different places. But politically, it is stop. What has happened in Ukraine, what has happened in Gaza, what's happening in many parts of Africa, many parts of other places. The United Nations hasn't been able to show that it is effective because the Security Council is in an impasse, unable to work together. So we need a system where countries can work together. At the end of the day, if we cannot work together, we cannot solve our issues. It's like climate change. What are the big problems of today? Climate change, food security, terrorism, global multilateral order. All these needs everybody to work together. If we cannot work together, where there's a difference in some countries having more power and some countries not having power, you cannot work the system.
Mirando a India, dice Ray Dalio que India será el que más crezca en los próximos años. Tiene India una oportunidad de situarse entre las 3 economías más grandes en el plazo de una década. Bueno,
no década, 2 décadas. 2-3 años.
Bueno.
Número 3.
¿Cuál puede ser o cuáles son las claves del crecimiento ya de India? Entiendo que población como elemento fundamental. ¿Y cuál es el plan a medio plazo para una India que ha llegado su momento? Que ve que económicamente este es su momento.
No, this is our moment, and you are very right. India has reached a place where you cannot stop the growth of India. It will happen automatically. Doesn't matter what happens in the world, our growth is natural. We are the #1 population in the world. We are now #5 economy in the world, will become #3 in 2-3 years' time, the way we are growing. We have all natural resources that we need. What we don't need, we import. We are a global good, a country which is working towards a balanced world, which does not work with one side or the other. It's a bridge between the south and the north. It's a bridge between the east and the west. It's a bridge between haves and have-nots. So we are looking at India, which will grow automatically. Economically, we are doing well. We are the fastest growing large economy in the world. With Spain, you look at Spain. With Spain, in the last 2 years, we have grown by almost 1 billion euros a year. I mean, we are looking at millones euros cada año. So we are growing very fast with Spain, with other countries, with every other country in the world. We are today a global power which is having linkages everywhere and growing inside. We have a huge middle class, a large technical population, a large young population. We are the only young, large country in the world. If you look at any country in the world, future global talent, future global technology, future global, all will need India. And for that, India will naturally grow. There is no question about that. Now, when India grows, we need an international environment which is stable. We don't need when every country grew, when the US grew, when the UK grew, when Europe grew, when China grew, all of them, the international environment was conducive for that growth. We're looking for that same international environment which is conducive for our growth, for India to rise. And so for that, we work with every country in the world to make sure that the global order is stable enough to adjust, to accommodate, and to help India's growth.
¿Cuál es el plan energético en ese entorno? Porque ese camino verde, renovable, a veces no está de la mano con el crecimiento que pueda exigir, ¿no? El crecimiento que India necesita. Le ha pasado a China, India entiendo que está en la misma situación. ¿Cómo se puede balancear la sostenibilidad? Lo que pide sobre todo Estados Unidos, pero claro, quien mira desde Occidente dice, bueno, es que tú has vivido el proceso de haber contaminado hace ya prácticamente un siglo. Ahora vives en otro entorno, pero India, China, los BRICS, el Sur Global, también necesita una pizca de ese movimiento de energía basado en combustibles fósiles. ¿Cómo ve ese crecimiento y cuál es el plan de India? Si es transicionar rápido a lo verde o si necesita más margen para ello.
See, we have no alternative. We need energy for our growth, and we will get energy from all sources. But we also know that we will grow well if we grow sustainably, if we grow in a green way. So we are looking at a massive project. India has, in the last 5 years, added 150 gigawatts. We are adding more than 150 gigawatts of energy, renewable energy. Our renewable program is one of the biggest renewable programs in the world, from solar to wind to nuclear to all renewable energy. We use all sources of energy. For us, there is no option. But at the same time, we are a coal-producing country, so we cannot stop doing coal power plants. Our country is poor. We do not have the resources of the West. So for us, we need assistance to be able to grow in a sustainable way. But we are not waiting for people. We are doing it ourselves. So for us, the green transition is very important. But here, the world has to understand one thing. The largest polluting countries in the world are the developed countries. If you look at accumulated emissions over the last 70 years, the developed countries have polluted much more. And today, they want to use pollution and environment control as a trade tool, as a tool to stop trade. You cannot do that. When the developed countries were growing, nobody stopped them from using coal, from using polluting things. But today you have to work with countries. You have to give them financing, technology to move in a more sustainable path. So this global financing, the ability to have the globe handle all these energy requirements is something we are fighting for. So we started the International Solar Alliance. We are looking at working together with countries on renewable energies, on electric vehicles, on green hydrogen. We're doing huge programs on all these things to be able to show the world that even though India doesn't have resources, it is on a green path. And for that, the rest of the world has to come together to also help the world to grow on a more green path.
Elecciones de Estados Unidos, 5 de noviembre. Aquí en Europa decimos, sobre todo en España, que casi que nos deberían dejar votar, que se juega mucho Europa en esas elecciones Trump-Harris. También en India, ¿qué se juega India? ¿Qué importancia tiene, qué impacto tienen las elecciones de Estados Unidos también en los planes de futuro de India?
See, elections in the United States affects everybody. So it does not matter whether it's Europe or India, it affects everybody. But the one good thing that has happened in the last 20 years or more, and especially after this government of Prime Minister Modi has come in, is that the relation between India and the US has become very close. And today there's a bipartisan support in the US for India. So whether it is the Republicans who come to power or the Democrats come to power, both recognize that US-India relations are important and that they need to work on it. And so we are not very worried about who comes to power. We are just worried that the people who come to power should have the right policies for global growth. Because like I told you, the US is the most powerful country in the world. It can affect the global environment. And we need a global environment which is conducive for our growth, which is easier, which helps India to grow faster. And with the US, we have managed a very good situation in the last 15 years. And we are confident that no matter who comes to power, India and US relations will continue to grow.
El otro punto, y ya le dejo, fundamental, es la paz. Todo el mundo quiere la paz, pero a veces hay caminos para alcanzarla, cómo llegar a ella. ¿Qué está haciendo India para ese objetivo de la paz? ¿Cuál es el planteamiento o la propuesta de India para el entorno de la guerra de Ucrania y del entorno de Oriente Medio, que empiezan a tener ya los dos un tamaño ya muy similar en cuanto a la preocupación a nivel mundial? ¿Cuál es la propuesta de India para conseguir resolver también los conflictos?
See, we have been doing what we have been doing for the last 70 years. For us, peace comes by all parties talking together. We have never taken sides. We always say that all sides should get together to resolve it. But for that, the two sides have to get together first. You cannot force peace. In this world today, you cannot force peace on anybody. The two sides have to agree to have peace. And for us, like my Minister Jaishankar has said in the US last time, we are ready to talk between two people, but the two sides have to tell us first to talk. And so this is, for example, Europe. Today, Ukraine is a big problem for Europe. What is Europe doing to try and bring peace? Or what is Russia trying to do peace? Or what is the US trying to do peace? Everybody talks about peace, but nobody really works towards peace. You need to work towards peace. If you work towards war, everything is about war, you will never work towards peace. Peace comes when you start talking to each other, when you don't block people from being part of the international community, when you start opening up doors. You have to start the discussion dialogue process. We have been consistent in both Ukraine and in Gaza in taking the same line, that both sides, this is not the time of war, both sides need to come together, both sides need to talk and resolve it. But the situation is such that the two sides have to agree first. India is willing to give its good officers to resolve any issue, but it is upon the request of the two warring factions. So for us, peace is critical. We need peace. Without peace, look at what is happening today. Between India and Europe, we have a huge trade, but the trade is being affected by the shipping because of the problems in the Middle East. The trade between India and Ukraine, India and Russia, India and East Europe is disturbed by the problems in Ukraine. Same in Africa. And there are so many conflicts in Africa. We have very good relations with Africa. So for us, any conflict in the world has a greater impact on developing countries than on developed countries. Developed countries have the capability to take care of any impact that they have, economic impact. But for developing countries, economic impact of conflict is much more. So we have a greater desire to solve the conflict than other countries. We need to solve the conflict. And so we are ready to do whatever is necessary. But the world has to get together to do it. Not individually, India cannot. But we are ready. So that's all.
Pero va a ser complicado.
Yeah.
En el conflicto de Ucrania hay un término de soberanía complicado.
Because we have divided the world into camps. This is the Western camp, this is the developing camp, this is the China camp, this is the Russia camp, but the only countries which have no camp is India. We are with everybody. We want to work with everybody. And so the world has to stop thinking in terms of camps, but in terms of how do we talk to each other, how to resolve issues. And in that, India plays a very big role.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Dinesh Kumar Patnaik, que es el embajador de India en España. Gracias por esta conversación en un entorno de BRICS en el que el mundo mira al Sur Global como ese poder ahora ya no emergente, sino presente en la fotografía y en el que todos debemos intentar también en Occidente interesarnos por esos puentes que van a ser clave en las próximas décadas. Buen día y buen negocio.
Thank you very much and thanks.